Tunaingia vijijini, mijini na hata jijini kukuletea taarifa mchana kutwa. Usiku tunaketi kitako, tunadadavua tukichanganua taarifa na makala muhimu yanayokuhusu wewe na familia yako. Ungana na Bernard Ngozi kwenye Open Forum Political Show kuanzia saa 4 usiku hadi dakika zake kila siku ya wiki kwenye
Tonight, the show that gives you an opportunity to air what you feel and think about the latest development on our political front. Well, Tonight, the show that gives you an opportunity to air what you feel and think about the latest development on our political front. Well, a lot is taking place so fast. Therefore, everybody must work hard to stay on the cutting edge as far as making sense of our politics is concerned, and of course, remaining on top of all matters. Tonight, this is Sound Candy Talk Live. 72 people have cast their vote already, and only 42 have liked the video. Justified. So from the look of things, the majority of Kenyans think the government need to up their. Glad to report we are back on the main channel as well, and therefore we are asking everybody to join from wherever you are. Sound Candy Talk Live YouTube channel, and we are also live on X as well as extended to Facebook.
You are watching Sound Candy Talk Live.
Good day, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back for tonight. Tonight we're going to have an amazing moment together, an amazing time having the conversation over tonight of what has been going through outside the day. So I want to welcome you all. Feel free and feel part and parcel of this, as even we are checking out the conversation of what is going on in our nation. So tonight we'll be having our show tonight, which is Political Open Forum Show, whereby we'll be discussing the matters that have been rising up into our nation and what they are intended to. We'll be checking out more details too on what has been coming out throughout the day, and be also checking more details too to what has been happening throughout the day and what has been going through across. So I want to ask you, please, if they're coming up or is the first time joining the show, please consider subscribing, liking, and also sharing, so that you cannot remain with the information alone. Also, your friend can be part and parcel of this, as even we are continuing having the conversation tonight. So tonight we'll be having the two segments. We'll be rolling up the first segment of knowing where you're watching me from and listening from you too, and the parts from that one will be taking the segment of listening to you and also getting out to views too, because a lot is happening. One of the things that are happening all about is the story of the police killing people, whereby today the number is raising up to 31. So we don't know by tomorrow if the number will still be raising up or the number will be going down. On tonight also we'll be checking out the CS Koome condemning the police on the murdering of people. And also today, one sad story, that is one breaking news. One young girl of age 12 was shot inside his mother's house. That's also sad news that hitting on the text line. So I will also be checking more details towards that. Please tell me if you are getting me, and if you are getting me, where you are getting me also, and I'll be happy so that I can also listen from you. And tonight I'll be hosting the show. I am Shagizo, and I'll be joining up with other people from other sides and other parts of Kenya and other parts of the world to bring this analyzation or open forum show to the standstill. So I want to welcome you all. Feel free and feel part and parcel of this, as even we are having the conversation tonight. And I want to thank for those who have subscribed to here. So please urge other people also to subscribe and be part and parcel of this, as even we are continuing having the conversation tonight, or because the conversation tonight is getting hot due to what is happening right now. Team TikTok, thank you for those who are joining up. Thank you for those who are still coming inside the building. Please let us tap up and share the live also, so that we can be upping up for Team TikTok. I'll appreciate so much for those who are still joining. I'll be giving out shout out from everyone, from all sides, from people who are watching us from Team TikTok, from other teams, and from other corners also too. Today we are live on Sound Candy Talk Facebook, we are live on Sound Candy Talk YouTube live, and also we are live on Sound Candy Talk live YouTube. And also we are live on Director Shadiza on TikTok, whereby we'll be also having the conversation. I want to take this opportunity to welcome you all and feel free. The number of people who are still watching is still low. Please invite somebody to watch with and be part and parcel of this, as even we are having the good time conversation tonight. I know the week has been long. We are having a lot more that is cooking and a lot that is having everywhere, that is hovering everywhere. But tonight on our political front, we want to check out what is it that is not happening, so that people can be murdered brutally and others can be killed due to the things that are happening. So that is also one of the saddest stories that are being raising up due up the day. And also that's one of the saddest thing that we have come across too, because these things are happening. And the moment we still just sit there watching them happen, they bring other chaotics. They make people get worried, because if a young girl of 12 years can be killed while she is inside the mother's house, this is sure that the things are getting out of hand, because now you can't point out who shot, and you can't point out what happened, because the girl was inside the house and the mother was even not aware that such like things was coming. So we will still checking out more details towards all things that are moving around and everything that is coming up. Please tell me where you're watching me from, and also please don't forget to share on our live today. And on our hashtag tonight is our saying that, do you support this, or you are not supporting the police on the murdering of everything? Also on Mount Kenya, we see that tunasemanga msiguze Mlima, but tonight also we have seen that Mlima imeguzwa with the police brutality and killing people also on Mlima. So tujui sasa hii story imefika mpaka huko ama ilibaki tu Kenya peke yake, ambapo wanasema siku hizi wanasema kwamba Mlima si Kenya ndo. So we want to know if they are part of Kenya. So if this happening to that point, are we safe or are we still in trouble? We'll also be checking out some more details towards that, and also be checking out about the Martha Koome speech today, the opposition leader, and also Martha Koome standing up for the People's Patriotic Party and saying that and speaking it out. Also checking out CJ Koome condemning also the death and the killing of people with police. And also Saba Saba outcomes. There's a lot of things today we'll be speaking about the Saba Saba outcome, which was yesterday. By tonight, as we are communicating right now, I've seen the number of people who were killed on Saba Saba raising up to 31. This is one of the serious matters or serious things that are being raising up. So I would like to hear from you and know that what is your opinion too, and what do you say about this? Do you feel like this man, the number that's still going up, is it okay, or there's something that's not happening up? Because every day that people goes on the street to go and stray and do the demos, the numbers of people who are killed increases day by day, day by day, day by day, which is something that is so awkward a little bit, but we will still stand still and stand firm to make sure that everything implement to it. So I want to listen from you. I want to hear from you, and I want to get more from you so that we can have the journey moving on together, because a lot more is cooking inside this Sound Candy Talk. So I want to welcome you all. Feel free and feel part and parcel of this.
You are watching Sound Candy Talk live.
Before we continue rolling more, let me just give a shout out for people who are watching us, and then we will continue. Let me begin with the team Facebook, team YouTube. I can see a star saying good evening, Bernard, and all of you. I think Bernard has gotten the greetings. I also see other people who are watching us. This one called Gracine Jeggi. Thank you, Gracine Jeggi, for joining up. Kuna mwingine anaitwa Jemima. Kuna mwingine anaitwa Mwarai. Kuna mwingine anajiita pale nani? There's another one called Ish. There's one called Wanjiro. Thank you. And then kuna mwingine anaitwa Flo. Thank you, Flo, for joining up. Namuona nani mwingine anajiita Tony. Thank you, Tony, for joining up. Namuona mwingine anajiita Habibda. Thank you. Namuona nani anajiita hapa? Anajiita Teresta, thank you. Namuona Sophie, thank you. Susan, thank you. Naona nani AC, thank you. Naona Redeemer, thank you. Naona Shanika, thank you for joining up. Namuona nani Owengo, thank you Owengo for joining up. Naona VC, namuona I am anajita nani I am Esther, thank you. Namuona huyu anajita nani Charles, thank you. Namuona B boy, thank you. Naona nani mwingine hapa, namuona anajita Okarimo, thank you Okarimo. Namuona Mili in the building. Namuona Tisom, thank you. Namuona mwingine anajita Mash, thank you. Namuona Doris, thank you. Namuona Monique, thank you. Namuona nani Tizali, tell me watching from namuona naye mwingine tena anajita Mama Nikita, thank you Mama Nikita 009. Tonight I've just said hi to you and I seeing you in the building. Namuona Cash, thank you for those who are still joining up. The Nini is running so much, but I'll not give out to everyone. But now let us go back to the main agenda of the day. Okay, there's a lot of things that are cooking up due to the Saba Saba outcome. This is what we call Saba Saba outcome of everything that is going on, or everything that is good, that's been happening, and a lot more is happening, whereby we'll be checking the updates of the day and also checking out what is it in it. Because okay, what will Mama Saba Saba will go protest in peace, come back home, but now it turned up and everything goes just contrary to what people are expecting, and also things getting hotter. But before we got up to the Saba Saba outcomes, today I would like to begin the conversation on a tricky end, whereby we'll be first listening to Martha Koome, who has been managed to speak today, and also checking out what he's cooking. Kama mama mulimwita last time mama, what mama is cooking, and also it could be good. So people asking Shadizo today, are you not sharing the link? Okay, today I'll share the link so that we can join up and be part and parcel of this. So please use the link on the comment section to join up the show. Just just click it and it'll be good. Also team Facebook saying Jared anasema kwamba watching from Watamu. Thank you. Watching for Watamu. Okay, I thought you are saying watching Watamu. No, okay, it's watching from Watamu. Thank you so much. Those are team Facebook are doing good job. I really love you. Hey, let us keep on moving on and on and on, as even we are getting up for the spicing up of the conversation tonight. Okay, let us begin the story of one mama as spoken today for it, because mambo imezidi kukuwa moto. Nasikianga siwina kusema niko moto maze. Today things are getting hot and hotter and hottest, because hatutaki mchezo, tunataka haki, and we want to point out everything clearly to everything to at a point and where's everything supposed to be. Manake kama kitu inafai kuwe mahali fulani, wacha ikuwe hapo. Msibadilishe muiweke vitu zingine zenye hakuna na hakuna. Tunataka kila kitu should be accountable.
Tonight, we're speaking with Martha Koome, who is the party leader of PLP, that's the People's Liberation Party. Talking about the state of the nation following, yesterday's events. Thank you so much for making time for us.
And thank you for having me.
Yeah. Let's start by just getting your reaction from the events that we saw. I mean, there's been quite a bit that's happened from June 25th, but your immediate reaction to the day that was yesterday, Saba Saba.
It's shock, frustration, to see continued trend of killing innocent protesters, peaceful protesters, destroying businesses. And it's apparent that it's state-sponsored goons who are destroying the businesses. The reports we are getting, say from Kirinyaga, from Meru, from elsewhere, that the people who destroyed the businesses appear to have been dropped there. Yes, they may have been joined by local people in looting, especially in Mwea, but the trigger was people imported to do specifically that, targeting of businesses in Nairobi, in other places, and indiscriminate killing of people. I saw a body, what appeared to be a body, being dragged on the tarmac by police. You don't just kill people, you disrespect the dead. It is something we have not seen, unprecedented. And we can only shudder that this rogue regime continues to butcher Kenyans with impunity.
This was meant to be the 35th commemoration of Saba Saba. You were there during that time. I wonder what was your plan, to commemorate this day, considering you played a central role in the Saba Saba movement that got us to multi-party democracy.
It's a celebration of our freedom and demand that the rights that are guaranteed in our constitution be respected. One of them being the right to picket, which we have seen under this rogue regime being completely disregarded. They are actually trying to intimidate and stop people from expressing themselves. From Gen Zs who express themselves online, from cartoonists, from people who just want to exercise their freedom, disagreeing with the regime and making jokes about them, being abducted, tortured, turning up dead. So it is a celebration of our freedom and a reminder that we must keep fighting for it. We really must fight and refuse to be bottled and returned to the dark days of yesterday.
Yeah. How do you think we should commemorate this day going forward? Because it's always been, sometimes passes quietly. Obviously after June 2024, and now, the day has perhaps gotten back to the front of our memories. But how would you propose we commemorate a day like this in this country?
I think it should be a day to celebrate the freedoms we have gained so far. One way is coming out and expressing ourselves. And Gen Z have shown that Kenyans can have large-scale demonstrations that are peaceful. And we remember, even in 2024, the protests were beautiful. They were like a carnival, coming out, a show of patriotism, waving flags, caring for one another. Violence and death was introduced by the state. Snipers shooting peaceful young protesters. And from then on, what we have seen is like vengeance from the regime. You dare express yourself, we will crush you, we will kill you, we will desecrate the very freedoms that are protected in the Constitution. It is totally unacceptable. And to Kenyans, I say, don't lose hope. We really must fight. Tukiwachilia hata dakika moja, we are going to be bottled up and returned to where we came from. We must fight for our freedoms, and we must refuse to be intimidated.
Okay. Yeah. Martha Karua, party leader of the People's Liberation Party, please stay with us here as we continue to talk about this day, and indeed, most importantly, what lies ahead and where do we move from here? Because, like we're saying, we seem to be deadlocked. There is no compromise on either side. So what is the way forward? And indeed, there have been some proposals, and we'd like to hear what your proposals are as well in terms of moving the country forward from the stalemate we seem to find ourselves in. We continue.
This is what is going on. This is Martha Karua's opinions too. But I would like to listen also the other opinions, because Wakenya ni kumoto mazee. Whereas that's how Kenya says it, huh? This is I think I will play the second part so that we can get what Martha Karua said towards it. and also the third part, what Martha Koome spoke about it, because mambo ni mengi, masaa ndio machache, and we'll be also checking more details towards this. But let us do this. Let us listen to Martha Koome as even she completes the segment of this, because tumesema mama leo ndo anatuanzishia show. Let us check this out.
Especially amongst the youth.
Bad governance. When the economy continues to slide, when services are almost grinding to a halt, and when citizens complain or show displeasure, the government responds with a heavy hand, with a breakdown in rule of law orchestrated by the government of the day, introducing militias, because I will not call them goons. It is state-backed militias, Haiti-like, state-like backed militias, to assault, to loot, to ban, and then charge the very youth who are holding peaceful protests with the banning and looting, which has been done by goons under cover of police, because we've seen them working hand in hand. That only increases the anger. Instead of listening to the citizens, is presiding over matters of state with high-handedness and with complete disregard of the rights of the people. I think this regime is tone deaf. The people cannot be contained through unlawful means. It is by only listening and responding to their complaints. And I keep on saying that al-Bashir's Sudan was a police state. He had a very strong military and security apparatus. He still fell. In Egypt, there was also a military and police state. And we still remember Tahrir Square, and it fell. We remember in China, Tiananmen Square happened. Even Adolf Hitler fell. No dictator has ever conquered the will of the people. It is a time of when, not if. So the message to this regime is very clear. Listen to the will of the people to stem bloodshed and destruction. And do not think that bringing armed militias and blaming it on the people, you're going to hoodwink anyone. And to our security forces, to anybody in authority, remember this is your country too. You will account personally. Any illegal orders, remember, you will account personally, and very soon.
The young people are saying, you know, Ruto must go. That's what they chant when they're out on the street, even online. What do you say, Martha?
Indeed, he must go if he cannot govern in accordance with the law. The people have the power to tell him to go. Let him read Article 1. There is no offense, no law broken by people chanting or demanding that he should go. They're demanding not just for his resignation, it's him and his entire complement, the entire government. And if they continue being tone deaf, it will happen sooner than later.
He says, you know, how do I go?
By resigning, or you'll be pushed out eventually by the people, by the will of the people. The acts that are happening today actually make it untenable for him to remain in power. And I keep on saying, being elected is not a title deed, which you wave in our faces. You have a term, but that term can also knows he employs people in his home and in businesses. You can terminate them even where you have a contract. You can be terminated. And he should consider that he was actually fired last year during the Gen Z protests. So if you are on borrowed time, you try to correct your mistakes. He's adding insult to injury. It is a time, my call is for all Kenyans of goodwill. This is our country. And I have heard William Ruto's utterance that if there is no Kenya for Ruto, there will be no Kenya. So this is a deliberate attempt to cause civil strife in this country. We must resist, and all Kenyans of goodwill must come together to save this country, not in a dialogue with somebody deliberately breaking the law, with a group of ruling elite who are hell-bent on persecuting citizens. But all Kenyans of goodwill must come together to put in place measures that will stop this rogue government in its tracks.
One of the things that the president says is if you want him out, you meet him at the ballot in 2027 as one of the ways perhaps to make that determination on whether he continues as president or not. But we're not even ready with IEBC, Ms. Karua, and we know where that matter is, and without litigating it, because that matter is now in court. But, you know, what are your reflections on where we go with that? Because even with the electoral process, we are not ready with that right now. What are your thoughts on where we are with
Let me say
constituting
this. If he wants us to meet him on the ballot, change your ways, Dr. Ruto, you and your illegitimate rogue regime. If not, Kenyans have the power to terminate your contract earlier. As for IEBC, Dr. William Ruto deliberately and illegally pushed out commissioners whose tenure would still have been valid, because it is not right that all commissioners go at the same time and we are left without IEBC. That's why there was a broken down hiring. Having pushed them out illegally, he has delayed the process. If you remember, the NADCO report, which I didn't agree with, they took 1 year discussing. They have taken more than a year to pass the legislation in Parliament. And now the commissioners are yet to be appointed properly because he appointed them against court orders. So it is deliberate. I am looking at the actions of Dr. William Ruto, and I'm seeing a man ready not to go to elections. So first, he denies the country an IEBC. Secondly, you can see everything he's doing is a man who thinks he has bought a title deed to State House. Why would he even build a church there? Who tells him that the next person who comes there will be interested? And this nonsense of lying to us that there was a Mabati church, I used to visit that State House. Unless if you're saying him and Uhuru constructed a Mabati church, and I doubt, he is the first person to ever construct a church in State House. This is a person treating the seat of government, and in particular State House, as personal property. This is not a person preparing to go. Kenyans, tighten your belts. We are off for a very rough ride. And I'll repeat, Kenyans of goodwill must stand together to find solutions. And this is not by dialoguing with a person who is shedding blood daily. That's not a person to dialogue with.
All right.
Martha is saying a person that is Nini, the person is doing that. We should not have the conversation with the person because the person is not negotiating for it. Hii ni maajabu. Geuke mwenzako mwambie hii ni maajabu. So things are getting much hotter and things are getting much weird because, hey, if Martha can say this, saying that president say kwamba hakujenga kanisa alipata kanisa ikuwa ya mabati ndio akajenga tu kanisa ingine mzuri. Those are the words from President Ruto. And also you're seeing up the Saba Saba Day, Martha trying to explain it all about what is intended about the Saba Saba because he was there when Saba Saba was starting. But apart from being there with Saba Saba when Saba Saba was starting, we see the controversial a little bit. We see the something that's not adding up very well about the Saba Saba. And also we're seeing all things happening due to Saba Saba, which was yesterday Monday. I want to listen from you. I see Lala is in the building. Let me begin. Let us listen to Lala. Then we'll be invite also other people are still joining up in the front. Lala, how are you?
Well, Jadizo, it's good to see you. It's good to be in the country, even though it's a sad um, uh, occasion for me because I lost my mother, and we're getting ready to lay her to rest on Friday. But I'm happy to be here, and I'm happy to see you and all of you that have been praying for me, for my family, and supporting us. And we just want to say we are so grateful for that. Um, yeah, and look forward to having more time while in the country. And I think Bernard suggested that he might come to Homa Bay, so hopefully I'll see him. Um, I think um, the topic, I think what Martha is talking about um, uh, is I, I'm trying still to understand what is really going on. And let me say this, the truth is that the cancer that is killing Kenya has metastasized. It has grown uh, on all sides. And so you find evil on every side you look. And that makes things so complicated. Um, Even calling all of us to be wiser, to be a little vigilant in terms of identifying who is for us and who is against us. Um, the unfortunate deaths and the destructions and the looting and whatever is really sad because when people try to exercise their democratic right, which is to demonstrate, which is to call out what is wrong, which is to make sure we have good governance, which is to protest if there is injustice being done, if there is incompetency, if there is looting of our resources. Those are matters that call for protest. And protest or mandamano is not necessarily a license to kill or a license to loot. Those actually give bad names. But it seems as if on both sides, it's easy to look at those bad things and target on a group of people that may not, you know, be bad at all. All they're doing is simply asking for justice, for truth to be found. And secondly, I think there are a lot of sinister motives based on what we see happening. And this is where I think it's important for us to look at the history of some of our people. Where have they been? Before you support someone, look at what is really going on. Because if you watched the movie Searching Nemo, there's a little cartoon called Nemo. This is a story of a man who had lost his son and looking for his son. And then she finds a woman, this is happening in the sea, and they asked the woman if the woman had seen the son, passing. The woman said, "Yes, I can help you. I saw your son." So they traveled for days. And then the man was getting, anxious, very irritated, and asked the woman, "We have been going for so long. I can't see my son. What's really going on?" The woman turns and say, "You have a son, and you haven't seen your son." It's as if the woman had uh, Alzheimer, dementia. I could not remember. So here is made all this trip and discovering that all this was just chasing the goose. And it seems to me that we are in an environment like that in our nation, where unless we look at, scrutinize facts, and make sure we identify the people that we're following to see if how genuine they are, where they have been, what they have been doing. Because all we're doing is, if we don't look, really understand and study what the circumstances are and the people, we'll find ourselves supporting a despot, a character who has transformed themselves to be, at this moment, because they lost power, because whatever's going on, now they are the reformists, they are the Democrats, when actually all they're looking for is power to retain their wealth. Because some of them are living off of loot. They're billionaires, they're millionaires. But when you look at how they got what they have, it's because they are benefiting from somebody else's misery. They're stealing from us. But now they speak the language that we are speaking. So I think it is important for us to be really diligent. The good thing is that Kenyans know these people. We know them, okay? And many of our young people are angry. There are no jobs. There's no opportunities that are there. So I think let's focus on what the issues really are, than really focus on personalities. Because personalities, especially if they are not following the true north, would simply lead us to a place that we don't want to be, or to lead us to nowhere, like in Finding Nemo, nowhere to go. So these are my passion is simply for young people to follow that true north, which is both an emotional response, which is okay, but also a very cognitive, very brain-led thinking, knowing, asking questions, which I think I'm very proud of a lot of our young people. In spite of infiltrations that are going on, let us ask those questions. And those questions will help us make the best choice as we fight this war. Because thieves are enjoying a field day because they know we are not asking the right question. So they are there speaking a language, but then sooner or later they leave us. When they get the loot, just like Finding Nemo, all of a sudden they don't even know that they promise us something. And we've seen that happen. They're Democrats and reformists. When they get power, it is over. It is over. So there's no need wasting our time with people who don't walk the walk and talk the talk. They talk the talk, but they don't walk the walk. So this I'm happy to be here. There's probably a lot of noise around here because we're Matanga, we're Nakesha, and we are here. Otherwise, to all of you that are out there, Daniel, I can see Daniel is there, and who else? Okay, and all of you in the background, I'm happy to be here. Bizo, good to see you and good to be here. Back to you, studio.
Thank you. Thank you, Lala, for joining, even if of what's going on. I really appreciate it so much. I see Daniel in the building. Daniel, how are you?
Hello, good morning, my friends.
Yes.
Good morning, Daniel.
Morning, Padre Lala. I like this Padre must speak. Thank you. God bless you, Padre Lala and French moderator. Thank you. How are you, Padre
We are
Lala?
good, Daniel.
I'm well, Daniel. How is Papua? West
Yes,
Papua.
I'm from West Papua.
How is the country? How is the politics in West Papua?
Yes, now in politics, lobby independent myself from country Indonesian. and now. But I political independent now. We Kabolasi and activists with Papua. Me and go political independent from international. Me Robin now Africa. I speak in Kenya. My family and support me. Thank you. I look support me politic West Papua from Africa. I speak Kenya country. The mountain trash. I thank you. God bless you and country Kenya.
Okay. Oh, thank you. I think we have a lot in common with West Papua because the Indonesian, people are there totally. They don't give that recognition of you as independent nation, and that causes you to fight for the human right and the rights of Papua and West Papua people. And some of us feel the same here. We talk about democracy, but a lot of times you find people that have never seen development. The development is lacking in certain regions. So we are fighting for fair share of the resources so that everyone in Kenya, everyone in West Papua are recognized and are able to be supported and also feel like they are part of the nation so that we as people of color, we don't stay at the bottom of the human chain, but we develop those resources. And so thank you for being there, for fighting for your people, and always being consistent. Daniel, thank you.
Thank
Gracias.
you, Father. Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel, for also joining. I really appreciate you so much because we are having a lot more. As we have heard that our country and your country a little bit, there are some similarities. Okay, I want to bring up breaking and also disappointing news. One girl was shot and also other 31 people lost their life yesterday on Saba Saba protest. This is how things happened yesterday.
Interpreter. Tonight, we begin with the rising death toll from Monday's Saba Saba protests. The Kenya National Commission on Human Rights confirms that 31 people have died amidst the unrest. Among the victims is a 12-year-old girl from Dumberi, Kiambu County, who was fatally struck by gunfire while watching television with her mother nearly 2 kilometers away from the main protest routes. Brenda Wanga reports on the devastated family's demand for justice.
It takes every ounce of strength for Lucy to put one foot in front of the other. Her world came crashing down Monday evening, right inside the safety of her home. Tragedy came knocking as she and her daughter were basking in the comfort of their home.
Jana tulikuwa kwa nyumba na mtoto wangu muda wa 6:20 hapo, na ndio tukasikia kitu imelia na sauti kubwa sana tukiwa kwa nyumba kama tumekaa chini.
That loud noise would prove to be devastating for this family in ways they couldn't have imagined. The protests, ongoing about 2 kilometers from their house, had reached them in a cruel, brutal, and devastating manner. A stray bullet had pierced the iron sheet roofed house and struck Bridget.
Kumwangalia kwa mkono nikaona akona damu. Wakati niliona akona damu, tulidhani ni kitu imemkata kama ni kitu imepasuka. Wakati nilimshika mkono kuangalia damu imetoka wapi, ndio mtoto wangu akaanguka chini. na kumwangalia nikaona akona shimo kwa kichwa, ndio nikapiga duru.
The little girl did not stand a chance even as she was rushed to the nearby St. Bridget's Hospital. The family's hope for her survival extinguished, leaving them with desperate pleas for justice for their little girl who paid the ultimate price for a battle she was not involved in.
Ningetaka pia kuuliza haki ya mtoto wangu nitaipataje? Na hata kama nitapata haki, watarudisha mtoto wangu hai tena? Hawatamrudisha ya kweli.
Hakuna mwenye amekuja kututembelea wala kutupa lambirambi.
The police visited the home to collect evidence as they begin to investigate the circumstances that led to the killing of the little girl. She is one of 31 people from across different parts of the country who had their lives cut short through excessive police force as the security apparatus quelled protests to mark the 35th Saba Saba anniversary. Kiambu County suffered the most casualties with 6 deaths, including that of 12-year-old Bridget. 5 deaths were recorded in the capital Nairobi, 4 in Murang'a, 3 in Ngong, 2 in Kiserian and Naivasha respectively, and 1 each in Juja, Thika, Kitengela, Kerugoya, and Embu, amongst other areas. Brenda Wanga, Citizen TV.
Tens of families are in mourning following the sudden...
Lala, this is what happened yesterday. Now this number is still going up higher and higher.
Yes, Shadido. You see, let me tell Kenyans that demonstrations or marches happens in the countries that live in the United States of America almost every day. In any of the states, in the capital, and all over, there is a demonstration. Okay, there is a march, there is a protest, but people don't die. The riot police are trained to restrain. Even if you throw stone at them, they have those gears to stop the stone if it happens at times. But the marches often are peaceful. The police are there not to kill, not with live bullets, to kill people. So people don't have to die. That people should never die. And for us to watch this happening, it means mandamano or marches is dead. So we should actually get it out of the constitution, because the constitution tells us that we can protest. Okay, when the police come with excessive force, that's not right. At the same time, there are people that come in to infiltrate and cause chaos. And this is where the intelligence has to be available to make sure that they know who is causing the problem and they go for it, not just blaming a group of people. So there are things that can be done that we are failing to do. So clearly, there's a failure, a colossal failure here, from the system. So in my mind, I think because this campus magnified, as right, all over, there are people that are outside that simply want to instigate what we see outside, and they come in to do this kind of thing so that they can answer with this bad name. And so it is important for all of us, and then people in the police force, don't obey an illegal order. And those of us who are protesting, okay, let's make sure that we do it the right way. Though we cannot control who is around us, because that's the security, matter. But let us be vigilant and make sure that we know as much as we can who is around us. And I think the old protest had that in mind. We people organized, know who is not in the group, and they could even arrest somebody who's trying to loot. Just people protesting themselves could do it. Okay, so yes, let's organize. But the buck stops with the system. Okay. But we can also make things worse if we don't help the system. That's why I think a dialogue is needed. You know, I don't know. People are saying we don't need dialogue, but the kind of dialogue I'm talking about is a dialogue where everything is put on the table. Whatever comes out of there is binding, not somebody coming to use that to stay uncouth, with and without uh, basically taking in responsibility. We don't want it to be just a talk, but it is a real dialogue about Kenya. Because right now the constitution basically means nothing. It's simply used by certain people for their own selfish interest. And then the result is what we see, people getting killed and all that, because it doesn't take a rocket scientist to tell a police officer or to arrest that police officer or to investigate, those and find out. It's very easy to know which bullet hit who, and that person should be. But it seems as if these people are protected, okay? And again, those on the other side, violence will not give us what we're looking for, but I think an act of defiance, where all of us stand together, we can call anything to be, even this government will count if we stand as Kenyans. That's the dialogue I'm talking about, where we talk and simply say, these are the things we don't want, and we stand, on those principles and willing to take a risk instead of just talking for the sake of talking, or just watching things happening, or just allowing these people to define, us. And so, in my mind, the problem is bigger than Ruto. Okay, Kenyans are disillusioned with the system. Kenyans are angry. Kenyans are hungry. Kenyans are confused. Kenyans are scared, and Kenyans are feeling a sense of hopelessness with the way things, that are going on at the moment. And so nobody should think that they're safe, whichever side you are on, unless we bring matters to the table and decide for this nation. We are going down very fast. The country is going down very fast. And why would we want to sacrifice this beautiful nation? Let us put the country first and save this nation. That's my what I sense, But what I see out there, I think, is we are becoming what I would call a country. This anarchy is what seems to be ruling more and more and growing, and people don't listen to anybody, any system. And so that's what we are feeding, because if a government does not give hope, if a country does not have an ethos, then people feel like they really don't know, what's going to happen. The country can't help them, or they don't feel part of the country. And so everybody becomes a country. And that's the beginning of the end of this nation. And it is true that their history is very cruel. In history, we know countries or states or nations that don't exist anymore. They're gone in history. And Kenya may be going that way very quickly, when actually we can build a beautiful, beautiful nation if we work together. Otherwise, it is watching, kids get killed, when actually there is not even, you don't even know what people are fighting, what they want. They don't what they don't want, but don't know what they want. That is really sad. Yeah. So back to you, Tadiso.
Thank you, Lolo, for that contribution. But also this thing is so sad because somebody losing the kid at the young age. Indeed, I hope, Lala, you have seen, because now this happening while you are inside the country, you can also be a witness and not just saying that, hey, you just had it all but now you have seen it and you have seen the state of the nation right now, the way things are moving. Things are not moving rightly. Things are very bad shaken. Okay, as we drop that case down, I would like also we check others. Another case with me here, whereby another family also lost the family members due to the same way circumstance, and it is so sad. These families are mourning because of they lost their loved one, and this is what happened.
Use of force by suspected security agencies. According to relatives, most of those shot dead were not part of the demonstrations, highlighting a disturbing pattern: the violent intrusion into residential areas, leaving innocent Kenyans caught in the crossfire. Laura Otieno now documents the anguish of families grappling with loss and questioning a government whose primary duty is to protect life.
A heavy cloud of grief hung over the Kiambu Level 5 hospital morgue on Tuesday as distraught families gathered to mourn 6 lives lost to gunshot wounds during the Saba Saba protests. The anguish was palpable. Relatives struggling to come to terms with the brutal and sudden loss that had shattered their homes. Among them was Frida Kawera, inconsolable over the death of her 23-year-old son, Dennis Mwangi, who was shot in the back while washing clothes just outside their home in Kiambu. Hers is a story echoed by other grieving families, all insisting their loved ones were not part of the protests.
Kama mtoto wangu alikufa nini? Alikuwa tu ameketi kwa nyumba, just kusimama tu kuziangalilia hivyo mtoto wangu anashutiwa. Nao maserikali wanaenda tu na wanaenda tu hivi hata waangalie kwenye wanashuti.
What transpired? Ndio mshoot. Na ni kwa street. KDG ya White ambayo sijui inakuanga station ya Makongeni na mekuanga wapi, hiyo ndio ilikuwa ili mshoot. Sasa mwenye alikuwa kwa hiyo DJ mwenye alimshoot ndio mimi naweza taka tujue ni nani.
A similar tragedy unfolded in Kirinyaga County, where 21-year-old Peter Masharia also fell to a police bullet. He was walking to the shop with his cousin, an ordinary errand that turned fatal. Unaware he was taking the final steps of his life, Peter never made it back home.
Hao watu wakati walianza hiyo commotion yao, watu wakirudi kupotea na huku, huyo madam Junior alikuwa na buduki yenye hizi zingine zilikuwa zinaonekana ni za tear gas. Yake ndo ilikuwa inaonekana ndo ilitumika hiyo kazi.
In Embu, another family is grieving, that of 29-year-old Anita Kendi. She had just left the hospital and was on her way home when she encountered protesters. As police opened fire in pursuit of the crowd, Anita was caught in the chaos and shot while trying to seek shelter from the gunfire.
Tuko tumesimama hivi nikamwambia tuondoke hapa tusonge hivi, naenda kugeuka hii side nyingine nikiwa nafikiria amenifuata, nikasikia watu wakisema umeua, kuangalia ni sister yangu wako chini.
Human rights groups have accused the government of sanctioning the use of excessive force, including allegations that vehicles seen during the chaos were ferrying members of the dreaded killer squads, according to eyewitness accounts.
Kenya is not a police state. This government must understand that we are beyond, being coerced. We are beyond being silenced. We will continue to air our voices.
Laura Otieno, Citizen TV.
A lot of these things are happening very, very fast today. The family believe for the crying for the justice of the loved ones.
I think my fear is that the trend may be a trend is created here where a certain section of the country seem to have the blunt of this violence. So one begin to wonder, is there some coordinated effort to do something about what's going on, or it is random? And so speculation is everywhere. What is really going on? And so to me, I don't know, what to say, how to defend the police in this such circumstances. Why, shoot the live bullet? You don't do that. Policing is not necessarily a license to shoot anywhere. Those are too many people that are dying, and it's heartbreaking. It doesn't matter. Those are Kenyans who are dying. Okay. If they're bad people, if they're fighting, just find those bad people. But you can't just shoot Kenyans, that are dying, because you're creating a culture which is very hard to stamp out, because somebody else will get the guns, those are being shot at. When they get it, then you'll be in trouble. You start crying. And we have seen that happening back and forth. When some people have power, all of a sudden they're above the law. They don't need a constitution. When they lose it, they start crying, asking for the constitution. This is dumb. This is stupid. This is sickening. This is sad. No Kenyan should die. And those killer police, whoever they are, whoever is killing, whether it's in police or wherever, you are the devil. You are the devil yourself, because there's no point, just shooting anywhere. Shots can only be used if your life is threatened. Somebody is trying to shoot you, then you have to defend yourself. But it shouldn't be pursuing people and then shooting them in the back, or just shooting anywhere because you got a gun. That's not right. Yeah. And the government, have to address such issues. I know the toughest thing right now is for genuine policemen. Do we run away or we do the police work? They've made it harder for legitimate, for good policemen and women to do their job, because they don't know. They don't want to kill. But at the same time, they're being, perceived in one way or the other. These are the matters that requires all of us to sit and talk and come up with proposals that can help us, and we can enforce that to save our nation. So that's my contribution, Shadizo. Back to you.
Oh, thank you, Lola. I think I've heard from you. I want to hear from other people also too. What is your opinion all about this? Because Kenya now is getting hot. People are speaking right center and every corner because of everything that is going on and on. Please just tell me your opinions too, so that I can also listen to you too, and also I can listen to your advice too, as we are moving on swiftly and even we are creating it out. Let us check out. This is the CJ's comment condemning the police on the murders that has been happening. Let us check out this.
Chief Justice Martha Koome has called on the police to employ professionalism and exercise restraint while dealing with protesters. The CJ adding that the security agencies should distinguish between peaceful demonstrators and criminal elements. This comes as Deputy President Professor Kithure Kindiki blamed the chaotic spate of demos witnessed in the country to youth unemployment.
In her address hours after the chaotic 35th Saba Saba demonstrations, Chief Justice Martha Koome urged the police to adhere to their code of conduct, including separating goons from genuine protesters.
It is also incumbent upon the police to distinguish between peaceful demonstrators and criminal elements, those who infiltrate protests to incite violence and loot.
Speaking while presiding over the swearing-in of new commissioners to the National Police Service Commission in Nairobi, Koome called on the police to exercise restraint while carrying out their duties. This comes as Deputy President Professor Kithure Kindiki attributed the violent demos to youth unemployment in the country.
Among the number of unemployed people we have, over 60% are youth. And this is what drives young people into crime and drugs and into a general state of hopelessness and despair.
Kindiki was speaking during the official opening of the Huawei Lift Jobs Fair 2025 at the University of Nairobi.
We want justice! We want justice!
This as the former Chief Justice David Maraga also weighed in the matter, calling out the Kenya Kwanza government for weaponizing the police, accusing them of using brute force against the people. Maraga proposing 4 points to resolve the existing political quagmire, including listening to the youth who have paid the ultimate price in calling for change, holding leaders of failed institutions accountable, arraign killers of the protesters for their excesses, and finally, hold the president accountable for gross violation of the Constitution. The international community also added its voice on the deadly protests, with the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights, Volker Turk, calling for investigation into the excessive use of force and alleged human rights violations during the protests. Emmanuel Toh, Citizen TV, Nairobi.
This is what is happening in Nairobi, and this is what Martha Koome said. Saying that police are doing what? So see Kindiki is responding to it, saying that it's because the young men, they don't have work. So what is the solution? They begin just mentioning things, but we don't bring the solution to the problem. The more we mention the problem, but we are not mentioning the solution of the problem is not solved. The problem is still hanging because we've just mentioned the problem, but we've not bring out the solution. So I want, even when we're mentioning the problem, let us mention also the solution. Yeah, let us mention the solution. Let me listen to opinion two from the opposition leaders. What's the opposition leader saying about this? Let's listen to them.
The leaders accused the government of violating human rights and called on Kenyans to stand firm and defend their constitution. Here's Stephen Leto with that report.
The united opposition came out guns blazing to condemn the killings witnessed on Monday during the Saba Saba Day protests witnessed in various parts of the country. The opposition claims that the government has thrown the constitution to the wind.
Killings are neither accidental nor isolated. They are targeted, often at young protesters and activists.
The leaders further claim that a group of armed goons are enjoying police protection.
The militia are coordinated, wearing civilian clothes but operating with police protection. The use of excessive force is sanctioned at the highest levels, including public statements by cabinet secretaries and high-ranking police officials. There is no accountability, only denials, cover-ups, and state propaganda.
The opposition, who include former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, called on Kenyans to stand up and defend their rights against what they termed as a sustained police brutality.
This regime is now hostile. It cannot be reasoned with. It must be resisted. We will not rest. We will not retreat. We will not surrender until every drop of innocent blood is accounted for.
Allow us not to take any question kindly. Thank you so much.
Stephen Leto, Citizen TV.
That's the speech from the opposition leader, speaking all it. So we are moving on swiftly. Mambo ni mengi, masandi machache. Kenya mmeamua everything should be set on fire. No, we don't want peace. We want problems. We want problems. We want problems. We want problems. I want to play a couple of video which will be followed. There'll be 4 videos. Then we'll be having the conversation together. Let us begin. Let's check out this, because there are the things that there are the consistent things that are happening frequently right now as even we are speaking. Check out this.
On the events that took place in Kitengela, where clinical officers and medical laboratory officers under the Health Union Caucus are threatening to withdraw their services nationwide, citing growing safety concerns during protests. Now, this follows horrifying scenes at the Kitengela Sub-County Hospital on Monday, where a rowdy mob stormed the facility, harassed medics, leaving behind a trail of destruction. The Health Union Caucus is now demanding round-the-clock protection for all healthcare facilities by armed police. Here's Emily Chebet.
These were scenes at Kitengela Sub-County Hospital. Blood-stained floors, gloves and medical supplies scattered. Window panes shattered as the hospital turned into a battleground. Ironically, the first person to break a window with his fist suffered deep cuts. He was given first aid inside the same facility he helped to vandalize.
My members, who are medical laboratory officers, were cross-matching blood for him because he had bled so much and he had to be transfused. As they were doing that, the goons attacked the lab first. There's a broken window there.
You know, it's very insensible. It is detestable and very unfortunate that any Kenyan would want to harm the people that they are going to run to so that their life can be saved. We are blaming the government because we have called on them several times.
The rowdy youth who had accompanied a victim of the Saba Saba protest forced their way into the facility, turned violent, ransacking the facility. They harassed healthcare workers, patients, endangering the lives of the most vulnerable, including children and pregnant women. The Health Union Caucus is now demanding answers as to why hospitals across the country remain exposed.
The healthcare workers took safety. They had to camouflage as patients, so they had to put on patients' gown, so that now at least they could not really get to know who are the health workers working here. And after that, now the police were informed, and the administration took action.
Anytime that we are having such demonstrations, that we are saying that the environment is not conducive and not secure, we shall be invoking Section 14 of the OSH Act. We will be withdrawing our health workers from those facilities until their safety is guaranteed.
Government must take measures to provide security in all facilities where services must be given, because we are neutral. We are not pro anyone. We are there to offer services to any person who will be injured during this demo, or rather the demo that will be coming, or even any police, because we don't choose who to give services.
The union has also condemned police barricades, which they say restricted access to critical health services in various parts of the country during the protests. Emily Chebet, Citizen TV. Tests. Emily Chebet, Citizen TV.
All right, let's take you back to Ngong and Kiserian now, where at least 5 families are in mourning following the Monday deadly Saba Saba protests. A 19-year-old border operator from Kiserian was among the 5 men shot dead as police officers clashed with protesters in an operation that stretched well past 9 p.m. The families insist their loved ones were innocent, their lives ended by what they describe as unjustified police force, adding to the rising toll of victims of alleged police excesses. Gatete Njoroge reports.
At the Bulbul Muslim Cemetery, a somber crowd of family, friends, and local leaders gathered to lay 27-year-old Paul Isamboro to rest, one of the latest victims of the Saba Saba protests. Boro's life was cut short by a moment of curiosity. He had stepped out of his house to catch a glimpse of the protests unfolding nearby, as police and demonstrators clashed in running battles. Then came the fatal shot. A single bullet to the head, and just like that, Mboro became another grim statistic in the growing list of victims of police excesses. Left behind is an expectant widow, still reeling from the shock, only months after the couple had settled into their new life together.
Singetarajia ati wanaweza kufikia ati mahali hata kushikana na watoto kama hawa waanze kuua bure. Ni makosa. Mimi ni kitu naweza sema hii mambo irekebike tu, iangaliwe.
Haya ambayo yaendelea sasa hivi nchini Kenya, yeye aweza akayaingilia kati na akayarekebisha ili maafa yasiweze kupatikaniwa zaidi. Hicho tu ndicho ambacho tumuomba rais aingilie kati, atengeneze pale ambapo yaona pameharibika.
Just about 200 meters from where Paul Mboro was shot, another young man lay on the ground, writhing in pain. He too had been shot, but never saw where the bullet came from or who pulled the trigger. He was rushed to Kenyatta National Hospital, where he remains admitted, recovering from yet another incident tied to the chaos of that day. A gloomy sky hangs over the Ngong Sub-County Hospital morgue. Mothers overwhelmed with grief are comforted by friends and relatives as they mourn the sudden loss of their sons. Their sons' young lives cut short in their prime, on a day when simply being in the street was treated like a crime. It all began when a group of protesters marched toward Ngong police station. Moments later, gunshots pierced the air. In the chaos, 2 lives were lost. Jeremiah Oscar and Joseph Kagiri, both gunned down in Ngong town.
Ametoka Ngaranji sasa anaelekea nyumbani. Si nyumbani Mathare, si lazima upitie hapa. Na si alipitia hii njia hili, sasa apitie njia mzuri. Badala ya kupitia ile sasa choro. Sasa ndio aliathiriwa zitasi pale na mtu alikuwa juu ya ngoroba sniper. Hapo ndio alichukuliwa risasi ya shingo.
For Gladys Mudhoni, the pain of losing the first fruit of her womb is unbearable. Her son Joseph Kagiri, a welder based in Kiserian, had come home to visit his parents. But that visit ended in tragedy when he was shot dead during the protests in Ngong town.
Hakuwa mmoja wa waandamanaji kwa sababu sijaisikia na sijaimsikia na kitu kama hiyo ya kwenda kuandamana. Alitoka kazini kwake akikuja ongea na baba yake. Sasa ndio naambiwa mtoto wangu amekufa.
12 kilometers away in Kiserian, another family is still struggling to come to terms with devastating news. 19-year-old Moses Tobiko, a boda operator, was on his way home when he was fatally shot around 9 p.m. by officers still engaging in running battles with protesters.
Amemsuit. Amekufa nini? Hata si hata tafadhali mimi wageniua. Mimi nimemaliza maisha kwa sababu nimewalea.
At the shop that bore the brunt of the looting, the scene tells its own story. Dried blood stains mark the spot, a grim reminder of the force used to confront the chaos. The killing of Moses Tobiko and 3 others in Ngong has raised concerns over continued use of force by police officers in discharging their mandate, with the families demanding for justice. Gatete Njoroge, Citizen TV, Kiserian, Kajiado County. Citizen TV, Kiserian, Kajiado County.
Traders whose businesses were looted and destroyed are counting losses worth hundreds of millions of shillings in the aftermath of the Saba Saba protests. Farmers whose agricultural perishable produce got spoiled because transport to and from major cities and towns was paralyzed say they have been rendered vulnerable with no capital to reinvest in their businesses. Seth Olale highlights the looting and destruction that marred the Saba Saba demonstrations in Nairobi and Nakuru.
The aftermath of the looting and destruction in Shaurimoyo, Kamukunji constituency during the Saba Saba protests. Jamlek Njogu, a wholesaler trader who stocks and supplies metallic hardware, was among those hardest hit after his stores were broken into and property stolen.
So kwa saa hii nimeachwa hivyo, nimeibiwa kila kitu, sina gari, sina mali, so niko tu hivyo na sina chochote kwa saa hii, na sina mahali ya kuelekea.
It did not end there. The goons also torched his 2 lorries that he uses to distribute supplies to customers.
Ukiongeza hiyo gharama, utapata zinakuja karibu 6 million hizo gari mbili na hii kazi yangu.
Njogu's immediate neighbors, who are also wholesale traders in Shaurimoyo, were not spared either.
Hapa tulikuwa tumeka hizi vitu trolleys, vitu za hardware, tulikuwa na hii side na hapa.
Kama vile mnavyoona hapa duka vile imevunjwa, tulikuwa na mali ya zaidi ya 1200.
Saduku zenye zimemalizika zote zikaenda, ambaye imegharamia karibu 1800.
At the nearby Marikiti market, farmers who had their agricultural produce stuck in the highways after transport was paralyzed following police roadblocks in major cities and towns are staring at losses.
Waweze kuja na mpango muafaka na ili waweze kufaidi ama kurudisha wale ambao ndio waweze kuregea katika biashara zao.
Sentiments shared by transport operators whose public service vehicles were stalled at various locations after transport was paralyzed.
Kwa sababu ilibidi tuwashushe sehemu ambazo hazistahili ama sehemu ambazo hatujaziorodhesha.
In Nakuru, business owners of West End and Stage Mart were among those severely affected by the looting and destruction of property worth millions of shillings.
Mara ya kwanza wakaja wakasukuma wale askari wakaenda, tena askari wakakuja tena wakasukuma wakaenda. Mara 4 wakakuja.
Many traders say they took loan facilities in order to set up businesses which they relied upon in order to cushion them against the high cost of living. But all that is now losses. They're now wondering where to even start from. Seth Olale, Citizen TV, Kamukunji, Nairobi County.
As the dust settles,
Kamukunji, Nairobi County.
As the dust settles on the violent protests that rocked Saba Saba Day, businesses in several major towns are left nursing deep scars from the Monday, July 7th protests, with losses running into millions of shillings. Business owners are warning that if the government fails to control the escalating violence, they will be forced to take matters into their own hands to safeguard their investments. Our reporter, Kamau Mwangi, now takes stock of the widespread destruction affecting both large and small enterprises.
Broken into, looted or burnt to the ground. This was a grim reality facing numerous businesses across the country as the dust settled on a chaotic Monday meant to mark Saba Saba Day. In Kirinyaga, businessman Jerome Kombozi, the proprietor of Nice Digital City in Moya, is counting losses estimated at over 50 million shillings. His enterprise was stormed by a group of marauding youths who left behind a trail of destruction. It could have been far worse, but a single phone call brought in GSU reinforcements just in time to prevent further damage.
Kama sio Inspector General wa polisi, Nice Digital City haingekuweko. Saa hii tunaongea yote properties are over 2 billion. Singekuwa ash, singekuwa njivu.
In Meru County, this is all that remains of Maguna supermarket, reduced to debris after a wave of destruction swept through the town. It was one of the 3 major businesses targeted in the chaos. Nearby, Beipoa supermarket also fell victim, with protesters looting everything in sight. Not far off, the 7-Eleven club located close to the two enterprises was similarly ransacked, leaving a trail of losses and shattered livelihoods.
Those are criminals, those are goods. Na tukitaka kujenga Meru, hatuwezi kucheka na watu ambao wanaharibu. Mtu anabeba TV ya 60 feet inch na labda hata ana mahali ya kuiweka.
Violence will never deliver what you are seeking. It will only deepen the wounds of poverty and delay the progress we all deserve.
In Nyeri, County Commissioner Ronald Mwiwawi says a total of 11 businesses were broken into and looted during the unrest. Among them was this meat joint in Nyeri Town CBD. Its proprietor Charles Moreithi says the looters made away with meat from 3 cows, electronics and cash, losses he estimates to be worth over 1 million Kenya shillings.
We believed that the government will take care of us, and therefore, we close the business just a precaution, so that. But when they are broken into, we are left. We don't know what to do and who to turn to.
In Machakos County, Julius Kiilu is a man at a loss. His gas business, nurtured over 33 years, was reduced to ashes in minutes after protesters set fire to his truck carrying gas cylinders, frustrated when they were unable to gain entry to his premises.
Wakatoa kioo ikaanguka hapa kwa barabara ikavunjika. Sasa ndio wakarudi ndani wakatupa tairi ndani ikiwa na moto. Na hapa Machakos mimi nimezaliwa hapa na nimefanyia biashara hapa. Kwa hivyo ninaweza kusema hawa watu wenye walifanya hayo mambo si watu wa hapa Machakos na si Gen Z.
Destruction and looting of businesses were also reported in Murang'a County, while Embu remained a ghost town for the second consecutive day. Business activities were severely disrupted as police and protesters engaged in running battles in the outskirts of the town. Kamau Mwangi, Citizen TV.
Let's take our first short.
This is how things happen throughout the day in different places. Mambo inazidi kuchemuka, mengine inazidi kukua moto, mengine yanazidi kuungua. Na kwa Kenya kuzidi kusonga mbele, tuone kana tunafikisha wapi. Kwa hivyo nataka nikusikize na wewe pia Mkenya ambapo unanitazama, niambie wewe kwako unahisi vipi, ama unaona ni lipi lile ambalo linafaa liwekwe ili liende sawa, lisiende kivingine ama lisiende mramo. Naomba uniambie maoni yako popote ambapo unanipata, na itakuwa vyema ili pia tena tuweze kuzidi kuzungumza na tunavyozidi kusonga mbele pamoja. Nazidi kuwakaribisha jioni wote, na kwa wale ambao mnajiunga wewe tafadhali na wasi tunaweza tumia hii namba tuweze kusupport Sound Candy Talk, itakuwa vyema. Wale mko Kenya mtumie till number, wale ambao mko tunatumia namba ambayo ni hapa iko hapo chini pia. Wacha tutumie pamoja tuweze kusonga mbele pamoja na kuweka mambo sawa. Na washukuru wote kwa ambao mnajiunga, please tafadhali na wasi wacha tujenge pamoja, kwa sababu sisi wote ni wa Kenya, na unazaona kwamba alikuhusu sasa hivi, lakini kwa njia moja au nyingine inakuhusu. Kwa hivyo tusilipe sikio la kufa, tupe sikio tusilipe sikio ambalo lisikia dawa. Sikio ambalo lisikia dawa, maana tusipolipe sikio ambalo lisikia dawa tutaishia shimoni sisi wenyewe kama wa Kenya. Kwa hivyo sasa na wasi wacha tutazamie hii tunapokaribia kutamatisha.
All right, welcome back. Our conversation continues on the aftermath of the deadly Saba Saba protests and where we go from here, which is, I suppose, the right place to begin this second part of our conversation with you, Martha. What is the way out of the place we find ourselves in?
Before I talk of the way out, Yvonne, this evening, I'm receiving reports that ununiformed people who could be security officers, all part of the militias of yesterday, have been dropped all over the towns where there was trouble yesterday, in Mwea, in Roiro, in Thika, in Rongai, and I don't know where else. How will people believe that these are security officers and not militias who have come to visit more terror on them? We have to really ask, when a regime sets out state-sponsored militias, do they have control anymore? Can they guarantee people of security? So where we go from here, the message is clear. Kenyans, we are on our own. And I said Kenyans of goodwill have to come together and chart a way forward. We've been speaking, and even today we spoke as politicians. The human rights people will speak as human rights defenders. The religious groups will speak as religious groups, and other Kenyans of goodwill. Can we sit together and seek to find solutions? Because we are on our own.
So what does that what does that sitting together look like? Because there've been a couple of suggestions. Raila Odinga, a man with whom you were in the trenches with 35 years ago during the initial Saba Saba movement, has called for what he calls an intergenerational national conclave. And then we've heard of the calls for but we'll get to the transitional council in a moment. But when you say sit together and talk, Raila is seemingly suggesting something similar. So how would this talks happen in your view?
I don't think we are together on that one.
Okay.
There is the broad-based or blood-based government on one side, and there's the people of Kenya on the other side. I am talking about the people of Kenya, not a blood-based government that is soaked in the blood of Kenyans. Yeah. So you cannot dialogue with somebody who has put a foot on your throat. And by choosing to identify with the person putting the boot on the throat of Kenyans, then that voice does not sound the same to me as it sounded before. So I talked of Kenyans of goodwill. So his voice is masked by the voice of the blood-based government.
So what would sitting together
just to harmonize
of goodwill, in your view, what does that look like?
So that we harmonize and we get a timetable for actions, for the measures that should be taken. If you look at the United Opposition statement today, it is making certain suggestions, including boycott of businesses associated with the blood-based government, including deciding whether or not to pay taxes or to go to work. A raft of measures ought to be decided. There are many ways of bringing this rogue regime to its knees without offering more blood.
And so how would this be done? I don't know if there has been some thought or reflection on your part as the United Kenya Opposition outfit, as you call yourselves. How would this work? What would be the framework? Who would be at these talks? And how would that proceed?
I have said there are two groups in Kenya. Mm-hmm. On one side, there's a blood-based government, the rogue regime. And on the other are Kenyans. So Kenyans of goodwill.
Mm. So how do they then organize themselves?
But how did the Gen Zs organize themselves? There are many ways of people harmonizing their thoughts so that a majority are of one mind. And we've seen it everywhere. People don't meet as a general meeting. There are many ways of communicating, but we need to take action. And action that, is broadly agreed upon, because the issues are stopping the bloodletting of Kenyans, freeing Kenyans to express themselves, getting the security forces paid by our taxes to work for us
And how do you, in what way do you think that can happen? And perhaps the reason I'm asking this is because with everything we've seen for the last year, from June 2024 to date, there still seems to be no, coming down on the other end. So in what ways do you think that we can move forward and start to say, what you're saying about getting, security officers to be held accountable for excesses, solving issues such as unemployment or the economic issues and the cost of living? In what way does that happen that hasn't happened, for instance, over the last year?
We will not get any good thing coming from the rogue regime. That's a given, because they are the ones who could have changed by listening to Kenyans. So we have to ask ourselves, now that they defy not only the Constitution, the will of the majority, and they are determined to even take away sanctity of life of the people, what do we do? How do we bring them to their knees, the operations to their knees? So it is not about getting this regime to do anything. It's about getting Kenyans to be able to rescue themselves from this terror and tyranny of the William Ruto-led regime.
In what way can there be lasting solutions? We've had history of talks in this country. We've been talking, but rarely produce lasting solutions. To the extent that there is much apathy amongst the youth in terms of bringing people around a table. If you recall, I think last year, right after the protests, the president tried to call for what he called a 100-member council, and there was supposed to be young people in there. That didn't go too far. In fact, it didn't even get started. But how do we get lasting solutions? How do we not find ourselves in this position? There was Saba Saba 35 years ago, made great strides, repeal of Section 2A, multi-party democracy. But it would seem, like you said, even at the start of this conversation, that many of the issues we're facing today are still the ones that you were clamoring for 35 years ago. So where is that pathway towards some sort of lasting solution? So we're dealing with different problems every time rather than the same ones.
We are dealing with a heartless and ruthless regime led by a heartless and ruthless person in the name of Dr. William Ruto. We call the Kanu era and the Moi era the dark days. The distinction between today and those days is that whenever the nation was faced with a serious crisis and at the brink of disintegration, Moi always used to retreat a step back and have genuine listening to the people and an attempt to bring solutions. And that's how we came to the multi-party era. This is a different ballgame. This is a regime that is tone deaf. To expect anything from it is to daydream. We had NADCO, which was supposed to be for 90 days. They dragged for a year. Implementation took another year. There is no way we can go back to meaningless dialogue, which will not be with the blood-based regime.
So you don't want any form of talks with this administration?
I personally would not. But people should come together and make a collective decision on what steps to take. There are many ways it's been done elsewhere of forcing a regime to its knees. Remember, the people are suffering. The regime depends on the toil of the citizens. What if citizens decided not to go to work for a week? And you might ask, those who live hand to mouth, what will they eat?
Yeah.
Those who live hand to mouth yesterday were starved by the regime. There are many, many ways of doing it, that even if the ones in employment are the ones downing the tools, there are many ways of forcing the economy to the regime to come to its knees. Yesterday, it actually enforced a total downing of tools. People lost, businesses lost, and even those that were not opened, they still paid militias to go and destroy.
So
we have to think, what can we do? Can we continue this way?
So you're calling for a crippling of the economy?
I'm not saying that we starve ourselves, but there's a way that we can do it. We can sacrifice. And that has to be, I'm not prescribing, but there are many ways of doing it. And yes, one of them is denying them revenue. Even when we say boycott, it's denying those businesses revenue. It is possible and it can be done. But I'm not here to prescribe, and I've said before, it can be done. I didn't know during the Azimio, Raila-led Azimio demonstrations, I was still saying we could do it. I didn't know how. Then came the Gen Zs with a method that we didn't know, more successful than we've ever been. Kenyans are not only innovative, they are also resilient. And I know ideas will flow from Kenyans of goodwill on how to turn around this untenable situation.
One of the avenues to that could perhaps be through Parliament, that is a representation of the people. There's a question here regarding what you think could be the role of Parliament, perhaps into the situation we find ourselves now, and if it is one of the avenues to use to get ourselves out of this process we find ourselves in. So providing oversight, representation, and legislation, including the option to impeach a president.
Parliament abandoned its role long ago. They are largely in the pocket of Dr. William Ruto and his rogue regime. And the speaker is gone. He's no longer Speaker of Parliament, he's Speaker of William Ruto. Now, what I would suggest is that Parliament can actually redeem itself. And even the few who speak for the people, because I have to admit there are few voices who speak for the people, they can initiate impeachment.
Is this something that
Let them
the United Kenya opposition, there is
all these cards are
some
on the
membership,
table.
Perhaps not the majority, but some would ask, would this not be an avenue, a legal one?
Parliament has to be left to make its own decisions, even when the party can whisper, but the parliamentary group has to come to its decisions. And this is one of the things, an impeachment motion. Whether successful or not, it offers a chance to ventilate, sensitize Kenyans and the world of what is going on. And that's why I'm saying there are many, many ways. And according to the Rome Statute, proceedings can be initiated, not just at The Hague, but even here nationally. There are many ways. About calling the rogue police officers or security agents to account, it is possible for those identified to also get them before the courts of law. There are many, a raft of things which can be done. We need to pull our synergies together and break away into groups that can do things. And it is very sad that even human rights defenders like the Kenya Human Rights Commission can be vandalized and attacked by state militias, like it was done on Sunday, when the mothers of the victims of the violence, state-sponsored violence, went there to make a presser. And I would want Kenyans to know that the tally of our Constitutional Commission, the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights, is that as of today, they're talking of 31 dead and so many injured, over 109 injured, and over 400 taken, arrested. And we have seen that the people who are being arrested is people from opposition areas, from Machakos, from Kirinyaga, from Nairobi, and I am aware that since the 25th of June, from Ol-Kalou, from Nakuru, from Rongai, all those areas that are opposition dominated. Yet goons who have been captured by the mainstream media as well as social media are free. officers who have shot at close range. Only a handful, when there's too much noise, are being arraigned in court. The rest are scot-free. So we are on our own, and we have to devise ways. The fact that it has not been done before, there can always be a first. We have to find a way of getting this regime on its knees to pave way for Kenyans to live the life, a decent life of human beings, to express their rights, and to be relieved from the yoke of oppression. Because it appears that Dr. William Ruto and his regime are determined not only to oppress, but to take as many lives as they can.
For some who are listening tonight, and to some of your thoughts or reflections on how this can be handled, would say, Martha, that you are calling for anarchy, you're calling for bringing down the economy, and there are those who say they've lost property, there's been violence and destruction of property, looting that goes unchecked, and that by your prescriptions here today, or some of your recommendations, that you are, calling for anarchy, bringing down the economy, and destabilizing the country. What would you say?
Meeting to talk about Kenya, is that anarchy? That's what I would ask. Because even by the wildest imagination, coming together to discuss as Kenyans cannot be called as anarchy. Anarchy is the people who are supposed to be keeping the nation safe, using a specialized squad of police officers and civilians to actually terrorize the people. That is anarchy. So for me, the anarchists are the people who are in power, a small clique of elite, who are misusing the security apparatus. Other forms of picketing, that's not anarchy. That's using the tools that are constitutionally available. The protesters and all the opposition leaders, none has caused destruction. Destruction has been sponsored and caused by the state, but they would wish to wipe it off, the opposition. You cannot frighten the people to the extent that when people call for boycott, you call it anarchy. Yet you are sending people to set businesses ablaze. Those businesses, how can they rely on the protection of the state anymore? I am sure people will find their own ways of protecting their businesses. I am saying time has come for us to come together and seek solutions. And I repeat, I'm not here to prescribe. And repeat, Kenyans coming together away from the blood-based government to discuss solutions. It's not anarchy. It's being active and engaged citizens. It's being patriotic. Standing up for the rights of each other is being patriotic. Anarchy is when a rogue regime sends the guns you bought to protect you, to take away your life. I would like actually to say pole sana to Mama Bridget in Kiambu, a 12-year-old shot in the safety of their home, the home made insecure by officers. And that's not the only life lost at home. In many other places, people have been shot coming from work or at their workplaces. That is what I call anarchy. And that is why we are saying this is state-sponsored militia, Haiti-like, trying. William Ruto and his rogue regime are trying to dismember, to destroy Kenya.
When we saw the start of the protests in June last year, I think one thing that was clear from the youth when they were out on the streets, when they were speaking their minds online, was an overwhelming sense of betrayal by the political class in general. The political class of which you are a part.
Yeah.
Do you feel a sense of responsibility of this betrayal that the young people feel in this country as a member of the political class?
Generally, yes, but specifically, no. Wherever I have held a position of authority, and even now that all I hold is a position in a political party and my agency as a person, I have done my bit. I can be able to account anytime for any space I have held. But if you're talking generally, yes, generally, the political class has failed. But I want Kenyans to know that they've also failed themselves. You hold the power of the vote. And sometimes Kenyans have collectively voted unsuitable people like the ones, a majority of whom we have in power today. It is time we use our power of the vote, our agency properly to rescue our country.
When Kenyans look at, so today, the United Kenya opposition stood up and of course, condemned the extrajudicial violence that we have seen amongst many of the ills I think that we've seen during the protests. But there is a section of the young people who look at, the spectrum of the people who are standing there and condemning that violence and saying, well, some of them are part of the problem. Not too long ago, the former deputy president was part of this very regime, and he was calling for shareholding and certain people who need to wait in line before they can get their fair share of the pie. There are several others there against whom some aspersions have been cast. Not guilty, but there have been questions about corruption, about extrajudicial killings, even within the last regime. We all remember the bodies that were turning up in Rivayala, and yet some of the people who you were standing with there were cabinet secretaries at the time in charge of that. And so there's a sense in which young people will look at that and say, well, are these people who are with us, or is there a sense in which you're hijacking the movement of the young people?
I would want first to remind you that Dr. William Ruto was a deputy president in that regime, because people seem to see the opposition and forget that the person now sitting at the helm was part of that, or that, let me not go where I was going, but let me say this, that I would want, because this is a media house with access to all these people. Ask me questions concerning Martha Koome. I will account. But do not ask me to be a judge of my brothers. Each one of them can explain themselves. I am not going to sit here to explain about any of my colleagues.
All right.
I will tell you.
I need to ask you though.
I will tell you.
No, not about them.
Yes.
But about your association with them. Is that an association that you are proud of and that you would want to be with and that you think is possibly the one that could, you said you're not here to prescribe solutions, that is fine.
Yeah.
But do you then believe that you provide an alternative at least to what we see? Because for what Kenyans see is that these are the same faces, with all due respect to you, Madam Karua, as yours as well, that have been, in leadership of this country for the last couple of decades, and say, well, it's the same, and positions change based on political inclinations during every election cycle.
Yes and no. The faces are the same. We are all seeking leadership, the top leadership positions. That means you have a menu to choose from, and each candidate will explain themselves. I am not going to be the mother hen to carry my colleagues on my back and explain for them. There are dots. Shoot questions to each one of us and find whether among us you feel people who can bring transformation to this country. And it is not only those of us who are in that group. There will be many others. Kenyans must utilize their role, their agency, to hold leadership to account. But Kenyans also must use their power of the vote and their agency correctly by identifying people who can truly transform. And it's easy to pick that. Look at the spaces each one of us has held. I'll be able to answer you questions of the spaces I've been, whether I've followed the rule of law, whether I've been accountable, whether I have delivered. Every person must be asked that. If that is the test that had been applied in 2012, we would not be having Dr. William Ruto presiding over a blood-based regime in this country. We would be having better leadership. We would not be having members of parliament. Not all of them are bad, but we would not be having a parliament where a majority turn their backs on the people and work at the behest of a rogue regime. And I want to say that we have a responsibility. Whichever place you occupy, whether as a voter, whether as a person in charge of security agencies, in charge of any government agency or a public agency, please remember the Constitution is clear. You work for the people of Kenya. Even if your appointment is signed by somebody else, it's on behalf of the people of Kenya. Obey the Constitution. Look at the interests of the people, not the interests of a leader. Leaders are transient. They come and go. The people remain. And let us all take our responsibility seriously.
Let's focus on police reforms, because that's of course one of the things that's now in the forefront, considering the events we've had in the country lately, and particularly over the last year. We have attempted police reforms several times. In 2004, 2005, there was the Kibaki Task Force on Police Reforms. In 2009, of course, after what happened in 2007, 2008, we had the Philip Ransley Task Force. That, of course, led to the Constitution. Great. We had IPOA, we have the National Police Service. Then in 2012, the then Cabinet Secretary Olelenku spearheaded some structural reforms. Then we had the PRIC of 2010. We had, of course, now the latest, which is the Maraga Task Force. What is the challenge? We've been doing this. We've thrown billions of shillings. In fact, I think collectively that would be well over 200 billion shillings in reforms. And yet we still have the same repeated cycles of violence and impunity.
In this country,
what's the challenge?
People have taken reforms. I've been in government and I've seen a majority take reforms as the physical. New cars, new uniform, seminars where you get a per diem. Those are the reforms. But the actual actions are not taken seriously. If it's violation of rights, whether in prisons, whether by police officers, if it is actions by judicial officers, you'll only see some working properly. Others, you'll still see the same corrupt ways. So we need a reset. And we need leadership in all institutions that drives the reform agenda seriously. And for those of us who held positions, you must check. Anybody who has presided over a ministry or institution, check whether what they did to clean up. Reform orientation is not one act or two acts or three. It's a series of the things culminating, which can give you a direction whether a leader can drive reform or not. Yeah.
I mean, so what is it? Because I think collectively we've talked about
it's lack of political will, lack of the will to reform. And reform is led from the top. And I learned that when I participated in government, I drove the reforms in the Ministry of Water, but I couldn't drive beyond the Ministry of Water. I'm Minister for Justice, coordinating the justice sector. I can pronounce policy, but I cannot preside over my fellow ministers. Only the president can. So if you see reforms not moving, know that the president has no time for the reforms. So the first part of the Kibaki government, you saw reforms moving. There was total commitment. The second part, when it became a grand coalition, even characters appointed to government who were not fit according to the Public Officers Ethics Act, then you see the reforms starting to drop, the rate of the reforms, and almost grinding to a stale. So it's about leadership. Leadership matters in matters of governance, in matters of reform. And reforming is a very tiring and thankless duty. You really have to have the determination to drive the reform agenda by coordinating, checking. You don't have to do it yourself. You rely on the human resource, but the supervision, you have to be present.
Yeah. In line with that, and I want to get to some questions that we have our viewers asking as well. So it takes leadership. You've said you do not believe that the current president is a man who...
And his cabinet.
Okay, who need to be in office and who can take this country forward. If Ruto must go happens, whether now 2027, by whatever means, hopefully legally, then what?
Kenyans will decide who takes over the mantle. May I remind you that Bangladesh was able, without anything, to appoint Yunus of the Grameen Bank to lead, and we have not had a problem in Bangladesh. They're moving on. They didn't go to an election to get Yunus, but when they wanted to bring the army, the public said no. Not through an electoral system, but they were able to identify who they want. It is possible. It is possible to change leadership through the ballot. And in Kenya, it is also possible to change leadership through the exercise, through impeachment in parliament, but also through Article 1, exercise of direct power by the people. Let us not ignore that. Let us not say it has never happened. It can happen, and it will be legitimate. Yeah.
Do you believe you would provide better leadership in this country?
Definitely, but the decision of who can provide better leadership is not a personal thing. In fact, those who seek leadership, we must humble ourselves to the decision of the people. I may think I'm the best. If people think otherwise, I must give way to what the people think. I am not the one who has sacked William Ruto. It is the people of Kenya who, through coming out of 37 counties, collectively told him, you and your regime, your shelf life has expired. So we must give way to the collective will of the people. And the sovereignty of the people means the collective, not the individual. And therefore, whether you have been elected overwhelmingly or marginally, when the people loudly express, and I keep on saying, in developed democracies, a government would not resort to killing. It would actually resign and pave way. But we are seeing a ruling elite that has no respect for the people or the constitution, because not respecting people's voices, resorting to murder to sustain yourself in power as a ruling elite is total contempt, not only for human life, but for the voices of the people. It is you and me as Kenyans who will build our democracy to the point where leaders will listen to the voice of the people. And I keep asking, what would I do if I was the one?
What would you do?
You might think you have worked your best, but if people think otherwise, you must leave. We saw Thabo Mbeki leaving leadership in South Africa when his party recalled him. And for those of us who are looking, he had done such a great job. But he respected the wishes of the people. So even if you feel that perhaps you have been misunderstood, you still must give way.
Is that a standard you hold yourself to?
Yes. And remember, I resigned voluntarily as a cabinet minister, losing almost half of my salary, privilege, and power, but voluntarily saying, because I am not comfortable with what is going on within government, I remove myself from that government. And at that time, ministers were members of parliament. I returned to the back benches and I became a robust member of the backbench. Yeah.
Before we get to this question, I just wanted to ask you one thing. There's been calls for a what they're calling a transitional council or transitional government that would sort of be a caretaker and that sort of thing and lead us to the next. What do you think of a proposal?
All those are ideas, and I said they are coming from civil society. We have suggestions as members of the opposition. The religious leaders have a voice, and other Kenyans, professionals and others. Them should be coming together to exchange those ideas, to have them explained more, and to collectively adopt a way out of where we are. Yeah.
Here is one question from Kipleting Manuela. Says, the opposition has been calling for President Ruto's resignation. What solution is opposition offering if the president was to go today? Who would oversee the elections, as IEBC is totally unprepared?
I have already explained that the people can be able to even appoint that IEBC through direct exercise of power. It has not been done before. I am not here to say how it will be done. I'm sure in Bangladesh, the people had not chased a president out of the country before. But it so happened, and they were able to say no. And maybe their constitution does not even explain as ours does. But in our democratic tradition, even where the constitution does not say so, power belongs to the people. Democracy is a government of the people, by the people, for the people. The people have a final say.
Yeah, but they delegate that, through their representatives.
Yes.
What you're calling for
in Kenya
to reconstitute IBC?
Even Kenya, it is done directly. And I said, Yvonne, that the people of Bangladesh chose Yunus, not in an election. I do not know whether they communicate on the mtandao like Kenyans, but we know that in a way and in unison, they said Yunus, and the army gave way, and Yunus came and selected his team. I have not followed to see how they are going, but it's quiet. We haven't heard of anything. So it is possible. The fact that it has not been done, if yesterday, before 2024 June, if someone had suggested that there could be an awakening of the youth of Kenya, and that they could come to the streets in a very patriotic spirit and peacefully expressing themselves, we would have said it's not possible. All we knew is demonstrations by the opposition, and the largest ones being organized and led by Raila Odinga. The Gen Z have since surpassed that. Actually, they are organizing better than any political player. So if you were told before that time, you would say no. If you were told before then that a regime, that Dr. William Ruto or any other person sitting there would sack cabinet because people have demanded it, you wouldn't have believed. How did the Gen Z or Kenyans communicate that we are tired of your government? It's not letters they wrote to him. He listened. How do those who resign because of public demand know that? Either through the media, the media is always one of the channels. And anybody who is not tone deaf will very quickly pick what the people are saying. So it is possible.
There is a question here from Dick Kariuki who asks, does Martha recommend a review of the Constitution as a first step?
No, nothing wrong with the Constitution to be the first item. What is wrong is our behavior, our attitude, and especially the ruling elite. That you would rather you killed Kenyans extrajudicially, you would rather starve Kenyans to pamper the ruling elite. You ignore completely the interests of Kenyans and take the state as personal property, where you pamper yourselves, where you trample on the rights of everyone, and you fight to retain the position instead of honorably giving way. For whom do you preside over the affairs of the state? Is it on behalf of your family? Is it on behalf of your friends? Or is it on behalf of Kenyans? If it's on behalf of Kenyans, and Kenyans say no to you, you give way. And yesterday, I saw the media count that there were protests in 17 counties. I don't think that is correct. There was a blockade virtually the whole country. It's even a wonder that the media can count 17. Remove the blockade if you want to assess. Maybe from 37 we'll go to 47 counties. And this is not me speaking because I have no control over those counties. We also get to know when the media counts. Let us accept that this is the most unpopular regime that has ever been in Kenya. It's also the one that has violated the human rights of Kenyans and shown contempt of the people in the worst way possible. Contempt for life and for human dignity. How can you drag on the floor a person you have just shot dead? The contempt shown in the murder of Boniface Kariuki, the same contempt in the murder of 31 people yesterday. And we are still counting.
Final words, where do we go from here? How do we get there?
I am saying that the responsibility of rescuing our country from further disintegration is on us collectively. And there are two sides in this matter: the blood-based regime, rogue regime, and the people of Kenya. Let people of goodwill put their heads together and let us find a solution. Let us not talk each from their corner. We need everybody in this so that we can save our country. Do not listen to polarization by the regime that wants to create the narrative that this is an uprising by the people of a certain corner. This is about Kenya. And even when you kill in the Mount Kenya region, without knowing, you kill people from all places in Kenya because Kenyans are one and they're everywhere. When you kill in Kisumu, you will find that you have killed more than the people of Kisumu. Like in Nyalenda, they expected everybody living there was a Luo. They killed 2 Luhya brothers. So what I'm saying, we are one. No wonder the hashtag, we are all Kikuyu, is trending. To mean, don't say it's a Kikuyu uprising. It's Kenyans who are unhappy. Shah Chief is affecting every Kenyan from every corner of Kenya. Extrajudicial killings and abductions affecting everybody. Defunding of education and other essential services affecting everybody. Running down the economy, joblessness affecting every Kenyan. These are the real life solutions we must find answers to, including leadership, because it's all about leadership. Let us do this together, Kenyans. It's about us.
Martha Koome, party leader of the People's Liberation Party, thank you for making time for us on the program tonight. And hopefully the 36th commemoration of Saba Saba will be different from what we saw this year. Thank you very much for making the time for us.
Thank you.
On the program tonight. There you are. That's where we leave it at. Thank you for watching The Explainer tonight and every night.
That's how Mother closed for us and giving us the wrap up. We have seen a lot, and I know a lot more is coming, and I know a lot more is coming from your side too, because this is what Kenya is experiencing right now, because we can't say it or we can't give it a down here. And yet there are things that are happening in our nation that we are here to see and take it out. That's why I want to hear from your views. I want to hear from your comments too. Please tell me what is your opinion too, and also tell me what is your sides too, because I like also to listen to your side. It's not only just Martha Koome one, the Kindiki side and the other people's side, the Koome side. I want also to listen from you as Kenyans. Please give me your opinions too, and give me your voices too, so that I can also listen to them. I want to thank you for those who have been with us to this moment. I know you have been doing good and have been doing great indeed. So we wrap up from that point, and I know God will bless us. So let us continue keeping sharing the video. Subscribe if the first time coming across the channel. Please let us meet for the next.
Tunaingia vijijini, mijini na hata jijini kukuletea taarifa mchana kutwa. Usiku tunaketi kitako, tunadadavua tukichanganua taarifa na makala muhimu yanayokuhusu wewe na familia yako. Ungana na Bernard Ngozi kwenye Open Forum Political Show kuanzia saa 4 usiku hadi dakika zake kila siku ya wiki kwenye